Welcome to day 5 of the 12 days of Cricut Christmas crafts with Debbie O'Neill. So happy to have you join me again. If you haven't seen the other days yet, be sure and check them out on my YouTube channel. There is a playlist just for the Cricut Christmas crafts. If you want to follow along, you're certainly welcome to do that. Be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you get notifications. Click that bell icon so you get the notifications when I put out the next video. Anyway, so today's tutorial is all about creating a skis for Santa plate and a little milk jug for him. I'm going to be working with the permanent adhesive vinyl from Cricut, the premium, but this time we're going to be applying the vinyl on the underside of the plate, because when you're going to be putting food onto a plate, you don't want to have it sitting on top of vinyl. The manufacturers don't recommend that you put food on your vinyl. So this is a good way to do it, where you can still serve something on the plates and be able to still have a pretty design on a glass plate. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to take you step by step how I design this, how we curve the words, how we weed the vinyl, how we apply it to the back of the plate, and then we're also going to be making that really cute little milk for Santa out of a mason jar that we'll be able to make a little set, and these would make great gifts for anybody that you know who loves Santa. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I'm in Design Space, and we're gonna work on how did I design the images for the cookies for Santa and the milk mug for Santa. So we're going to go back to using our templates again. So we're going to go to Template, and we're going to start with the plate first. Now remember, the template is just a imaginary image that gets put on your Design Space mat. It does not cut out, and it does not get saved with your file, okay? So you won't see it once you save your file. You'll just see the image that you saved. All right, so we're going to go down here to plates. Everything's in alphabetical order, so it's kind of easy to find. And there's a choice here for type, and you can pick a round salad plate, a square salad plate, a round dinner plate, or a square dinner plate. And we're going to be working with a round salad plate. And I don't want just the standard size. I want to make sure that it's the size of my salad plate, and mine is 10 inches. Okay, so I'm using a 10-inch glass plate. And so now we've got this imaginary plate on here. All right, it's not going to cut out. All right, so now that we have our imaginary plate here, now we want to put some images on it. So we're going to go into Images, and I would like to find a Santa image, and there's one that I really liked that I saw, and I had already written down the image search number, and so I'm going to pull that up, and the Santa image is #M 8678166. Okay, and then I just hit enter, and there's the Santa image that I like. So I'm going to highlight this and put it on my mat. Okay, so here's the Santa image, and I can drag it out and make it about the size that I want to put it in the center of my plate, maybe just a little bit smaller than that. Okay, and then I also want to make sure that I want it to look like the color that I want it, that I'm going to cut out in the vinyl. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to change it to a brighter red. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I like that. And now I want to add some words or other images to this. And there was another image that I really liked that I'm going to pull up. That was image number M8B 3731C. Okay, now I'm just showing you a different way to do this. In some of the other series of the videos, I've shown you how to go in and do word searches and stuff. And this way I wanted to show you that if you're going through Design Space and maybe you're not going to work on a project right this minute, but you see an image that you like, just jot down the image number and then you will be able to find it again. So if you click on the eye of an image, it tells you right here, this is where I'm getting the number from, okay? And this is part of Holly Jolly Christmas. And we know that this one's just called Santa. But if you search for his names, if you just search for Santa, it's not going to come up with that image. It's going to come up with everything that's a Santa. If you go into the image set, it's going to bring up everything in that image set. But I know I've already looked at this and I wanted to use the Santa, so that's why I saved this center, the number. Okay, I can just click off of that. And I put this on my mat because I really liked that. I thought that was super fun and cute, and I'm going to change it to the colors I think I want to be using, so I have a better representation of what it's going to look like. Okay, and then I'm going to blow your mind because we're going to type in the words cookies for Santa, cookies for. Okay, now we've got cookies for. That's not going to fit on that plate, is it? Nope, it sure isn't. But guess what? Have you guys used the curve feature in Design Space yet? The curve feature allows you to take words that you have typed in, okay? And when it's available, it shows you up here in your menu bar, it'll show curve, okay? So we're going to click on the little down arrow, and it's going to pop up this scroll bar, basically. And as you move it to the right, look what it does. It curves your letters for you. Woohoo! It's exciting, right? And so you can play with this. If you go the other direction, it curves it upwards. Okay, so you can do both. And you want to just kind of set it so that it's curved. You can always go back in and continue to curve it. Okay, so that looks pretty good, and I know I'm going to want these to be in the green. Okay, so you can move it around a little bit if you want to center it more and get some idea of where you're going to want it in the center of your plate. All right, and then I'm going to use this image and I'm going to put it down here. Okay, now notice that as this is highlighted, it does not give me the option to curve this. It's because it is an image. It is not individual letters. Say that you have it on this curve and it looks fine to you, but you can also go in, and if you want to scrunch your letters closer together for whatever reason, depending upon your font, you can manipulate this, or you can move them further apart if you'd rather have them further apart. If you make them too far apart though, you start losing reading the words across, so I don't recommend you do that too far apart. But I'm going to move it back so that it looks about right. Okay, so that is how you use the curved text feature, and I wanted to show you that. But if you click the Santa, because it's an image, you'll notice that that curved text feature does not show up. Okay, but we can still put Santa down here on the bottom in this image. And then the other thing I wanted to add to this was I thought it would be nice to have some snowflakes, so I'm going to go into another image set that I found. And here are some snowflakes, and these snowflakes are from the Warm Wishes and Marshmallow Kisses image set. And I liked them because they were already a variety of snowflakes. So I didn't have to go searching through a whole bunch of different images. I saw this one the other day when I was designing this and thought, ah, that's perfect. Okay, so these are grouped together. They came in grouped together. So I want to ungroup them. Okay. And I'm going to just start putting them on my plate, so to speak. But I'm going to move them around a little bit, make them a little bit smaller. And just my goal is I want to kind of visually fill in this space between where the letters are for cookies for and for Santa. Now I can turn these if I need to rotate them. Okay, and that just gives me an idea of what they could look like. But I know I want them to be, I'm going to do a red one and then another red one, but I'm alternating, making them red. And then the other ones are going to be white. All right, that looks good. It kind of fills that in. It draws your eye around here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but now all I have to do is come over here to the layers panel. I've highlighted one of them and I want to just duplicate it. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing for each of these. I'm going to turn this one a little bit more. And then the last snowflake here. Okay, so now I kind of have it spaced on there the way that I want them. You know, there again, it's just a visual interpretation of what it's going to look like. So I do want to go ahead and I'm going to highlight the whole thing and I'm going to group it. Okay, now I'm going to group it because this is going to be set for me to be able to cut it out. Now I'm going to go back into templates because I need to make a template for my milk jug. Okay, and I'm just going to use a mason jar because most of us can find a mason jar. That's why I picked that. And I'm going to go into standard up here, but I need to customize it. So I know my milk jug is about 3 inches. I mean, my mason jar is about 3 inches wide and it's about 5 inches high. Okay, so now I'm working with the mason jar, and this is going to give me an idea of sizing for the image I want to use for the mason jar. So I'm going to go back into images, and I need to put the new number in. And what I found was, I found this frame that I thought was really cute, and I'm going to put this on my mat. I'm going to size this out. I want to make it a little wider. Maybe not quite that wide. And I really want it to be about 2.5 inches high. So I'm going to do this because I kind of measured the front of my milk jar. I can make it a little bit bigger than that. Okay, so now that I have this in place, I am going to add some other images. So into Word image, because I want this set to kind of coordinate, so I'm going to use the same thing. Okay, so there again, I'm going to use the same thing as I want it to kind of coordinate, and I am going to go in and change it to the colors that I'm going to be using. Okay, and then I can make this smaller so it's going to fit on here. Alright, now I'm just giving you some ideas of things that you can do. I'm going to make this a little bit wider, my background there. Okay, and I also want to make the words a little bit stretched out more, I guess would be the best way to say it. So I unlocked it and I just dragged it down until that looks bigger. Okay, and then I want to, let's see, I need milk, right? I need the word milk. So I found in Design Space, I found a font that's already cute, that already had an image set that already had the word milk on it. What I'm trying to do is just give you guys some ideas of using different images in Design Space and using them maybe in a way you hadn't thought about before. So I know I'm going to do the word milk, but I want the word milk is going to be red, and I think I'm going to make that frame black. Okay, and then I want to write the word for, of course, in the middle here. So I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to type in the word for. Okay, and this is just the Cricut sans font. But when I apply it, I'm going to turn it slightly like that. Maybe make it just a tiny bit smaller. Bring this out. So you can play with it. See how I'm just moving it around, I'm unlocking it, I'm making it a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and group this. Okay, now we have the two images that we created. Okay, so we've got both of these. This is going to be for the milk, for the mason jar, and this is going to be for the cookie plate. Okay, now since we've designed both of these on the same mat, we have our Cookies for Santa plate, which we're going to be applying our vinyl on the underside of the plate. So we're going to need to mirror the vinyl images that are for the cookie plate, but our milk mason jar does not need to be mirrored. So how are we going to do this? What I recommend is that you change the colors for this image so that when we go to cut it, it's going to split it out on its own mat, and we won't need to mirror those particular mats. Okay, so I'm going to change, and this was just a representation so we could see that it coordinated and it looked cute together, right? So this is the milk one, so I'm going to change this to, I'm just going to change those all to pink for this. That was the red. Instead of it being red, I'm making it pink. And for the green on this, I'm going to make it the light green. Okay? Then that way, and the black doesn't matter because we don't have black on our cookie plate, so we don't need to change the color for that. Now when I go to cut this, it'll split out on its own mats, and I'll know that those mats with those images, this lighter pink and the green, the light green, are going to be images that I'm not going to mirror. So let me show you what that's going to look like. So I want to save this real quick. Let's see, day 5. Cookies for Santa plate. Now you could certainly, you know, do these, have designed these on 2 different screens, but I figured I'll just show you what I normally do, because usually when I'm designing stuff and I have things that I have to switch around, I'll just change the color on my screen. And I can cut it out of whatever material I want to cut it out of. So, all right, so here's Make It. And when we go to here, our snowflakes are going to go on the bottom of the plate, but a snowflake is the same whether you cut it forwards or backwards, so it doesn't really matter for the white snowflake, so you don't need to mirror this one. I want to move some of these around just a tiny bit. Did you know that you could move them on your cut mat when you're in this mode, so that you can maybe think about how you're going to orient them? So now, or how, if you want to trim out around something to be able to weed it easier or whatever. So anyway, so this goes on the front of the mug, so that one doesn't have to be mirrored. The pink AT milk one does not have to be mirrored because it's going on, this is what we're going to put on the front of the mug. And the light green is the same way. We don't have to mirror this one because it's going to go on the front of our mug. So we don't have to worry about any of those to mirror. But when we get down here to the green cookies for Santa with the SNA, which is Santa, right? We will need to mirror this because this is part of the image that's going to go on the back side of the plate. So we're going to come over here to mirror. Okay, and now you'll notice it's flipped it on the mat. All right, so it's going to cut it out in reverse, but that's okay because the vinyl is the same color on both sides. All right, when you're using the premium permanent adhesive vinyl. All right, and then if we go to the cut screen for red, we have the same thing. This is all images that are going to go on that plate. So I definitely need to mirror these. And I'm just going to move these over here out of the way. Okay. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you mirror that or not with the snowflakes, but the rest of it has to be mirrored so that Santa's going to be looking in the right direction when we go to apply it on the back of the plate, and our letters are going to be. So we do want to mirror this one. So we're going to turn mirror on for that. So now on your cut screen, this is going to be cutting it out in reverse. You're going to put your vinyl on your mat just like you normally would with the color facing up and the backing on the back of it. But now your image is going to cut out in reverse. So go ahead and go cut your plate, cut everything out, and then I'll meet you back for us to talk about putting it together. Okay, so we're on day 5 of Cricut Christmas crafts, and we're going to go over the supplies that you're going to need for this particular project. And of course we're going to be making the Santa cookie plate and a container for milk for Santa to set out. And you will need a clear mason jar. Okay, and this is just the regular size mason jar. It's about, I think, 5 inches tall and about 3 inches wide, maybe give or take a little bit, but it's that size. So we need a mason jar. You're going to need a glass plate. Now the one that I'm using is a 10-inch glass plate. I think it's, I bought it at Hobby Lobby, I think, and it was $4.99, but I know I got it on sale because I would not have paid that for it. But I picked up several of these a couple of years ago, and I use them for various things. But you'll, of course, because we're working with the glass, we're going to need to have some rubbing alcohol and a paper towel or something to be able to clean it before we start applying our vinyl. And we will be using the Cricut premium permanent vinyl. Because this is going to allow us to be able to wash that plate without a problem, and also the milk jug. So I will be using green, white, red, and black. We'll also need some transfer tape, and we will need a light grip Cricut mat to be able to cut our vinyl on. And for the tools, we're going to need our Cricut scraper, a pair of scissors, and a spatula, a Cricut spatula to help lift that off the mat. And I will be using the Cricut weeding tool and the fine tip point tweezers. And as an optional thing, if you want to decorate the glass once we're through, I'm going to be tying some red and green and white twine around my jug. I have a little jingle bell here that I'm going to be using as well. So if you have one of those laying around, and I keep, every time I see cute paper straws, because I'll find them at Target and I'll find them at the craft stores or whatever, and when they're like $1 for a whole pack of them, I usually pick some up. And so I have this cute green and white one and a red and white one that I'm going to be displaying in my Santa jar. So that's all you're going to need for this particular project. Let's get started. So now that I've cut the vinyl out with my Cricut machine, now I'm ready to start weeding it. So all I did was I went ahead and I trimmed up with my scissors the individual images, and I just put them on my mat so I could make sure I had all the pieces. So these are the pieces that are going to go on the mug, on the, I guess it's not really mug, it is the mason jar that we're going to use as our Santa glass. And then we have all the pieces that are going to go on to the plate. All right, now remember, the ones that are on for the plate are all in reverse image, so don't freak out when you start weeding these. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut away some of this where it says cookies for, just to make it a little easier when I go to weed it. That way I don't have all that excess off of there. And I like to use my Cricut mat when I'm going to do some weeding, just because it helps keep the piece in place. And I'll just turn this. I'm going to grab it on the end here, and I'm going to start just pulling it up. And I want to not go too super fast, because I want to make sure that I don't leave anything behind. And inside the letters, make sure that those are coming out. Make sure you leave your eye on the word cookies. Okay, so then what I like to do is the first piece that I take off, I like to roll it so that it's sticky on the outside, and I just set this over on my craft mat, and I use that to help me when I go to pull up these little center pieces and I need a place for these to land without sticking to my desk. I just stick them to the sticky part of this, and that works out really well. So I'm just going to get all of these out. So there's the center of the letters for the word, for the E. Make sure I get that on there. And sometimes the pieces are little and I need to use my little Cricut tweezers. That's why I have them sitting here. Okay, so I'm going to get this. Let's get the centers out. Okay, so cookies is done. All right, and it doesn't matter what order you weed any of this in, because it all has to be weeded. So I'm just going to weed everything. There's no particular trick to these. They're all pretty straightforward to get them to weed out. I'm going to go ahead and finish weeding the rest of these. You guys have now seen how to weed, so you're just going to do the same thing for all of these images, and I will be back in a minute and we'll move on. Okay, so I've got all the images are weeded, okay, and then I also went through and I trimmed some transfer tape to about the right size that I'm going to need for the different pieces, so that we'll be ready to go for that when we get to that point. So I'm just going to move this out of the way, and we're going to work on cleaning up our glass objects. And when you were working with the mason jars, these stay pretty stable on your mat, but remember I had that trick where I laid it on a bag of rice the other day, the cup, when we made the Jingle juice cup. So I'm going to get the bag of rice out in case you didn't watch the Jingle the Jingle juice cup application. This just keeps this from moving around too much when I go to use it. I'll probably get a bigger bag of rice that's a little more full, but this will certainly do the trick. And so I need to clean the front of this, right? Now on the mason jars, you have one side, normally on a normal mason jar, you have one side that has the raised glass thing, so you're going to be working with your vinyl on the opposite side of that. And I'm just going to use a little bit of rubbing alcohol and just a paper towel, and all I'm doing is I'm trying to remove any impurities that may be on the glass that would prevent you from getting your vinyl to stick. I also do this if I'm working with a plastic object, and it just makes sure that it is squeaky clean without using any other cleaners, because a lot of the cleaners these days have things in them like the Windex and stuff, so that they're no streak or they dry faster or anything like that. When they start putting all those additives in it, sometimes we're finding that the vinyl doesn't want to stick as well to that. And so now here's my plate. Here's my 10-inch clear plate. I'm going to flip it over because I don't care about cleaning the front. I need to clean the back side of the plate because our image is going to go on the back side of the plate. Okay. And then I'll just take a clean cloth and just go over it. And the rubbing alcohol, you know, dries really quickly. So I am going to go ahead and take a paper towel to put underneath my plate, just so that you guys can see it easier on camera what I'm doing, okay, because it's clear, correct? All right, so let's work with the glass first, okay? Now on the little mug here, our vinyl pieces that we're going to be using are in the correct order. We did not reverse those, okay? So we're just going to be able to apply those directly on here. And the first one you want to start with is going to be this image, okay? The one that is, it's going to be like a frame on here, okay? So we're just going to get some transfer tape. Need to get it off the backing. I just cut a brand new sheet of this, so none of this has been used yet, so it's a little harder to get it off the backing. Okay, so I've got it off the backing, and all I'm going to do is just apply it. I want to put it straight down on top, and then I'm going to rub it to the left and then to the right. Then I want to use my scraper tool and burnish it, and make sure it's on there really well. Okay, then grab the edge that stuck to my mat. Okay, so I've got this off now. I'm going to flip this over and transfer it onto my transfer tape. Okay, so now I have the vinyl image. The sticky part's back here, and it's going to go on my glass. So there we go. Now I want to figure out where the center is. I'm actually going to do this by turning it this way because I'll be able to see it a little easier. And I'm going to line up those two edges. Okay, so see, it's this is the non-sticky side, and I'm going to fold this over onto itself so that these are lined up evenly. And then I want to kind of eyeball the center of my glass, and I'm going to lay that down like so. And I'm only going to do one side at a time. And that was my fault. I let go of it before I was ready to let go of it. Anyway, so then you're just going to roll it off to the side and rub your finger along the edge of where the vinyl is. Now you don't care if the transfer tape gets a little cattywampus on you. You just want the vinyl to stick. And then I'm going to peel this off. Okay, and then I'll save this to use on another project at another time. Okay, so I've got this on there, and this creates the frame that the rest of this is going to go on. Okay, so we're going to start with the Santa on the bottom first. This is really sticky, so I'm just going to kind of unsticky it by putting it on my hand for a minute. Take these. So we're going to start with the SNA, the smaller one, because the bigger one's going to go on our plate. Okay, and I just want to burnish this on there really well. And then I'm going to peel those off. And then I'm going to apply it on my glass. So I know I wanted it to be right about there. And I'm just going to roll it with my finger. Okay, and then peel it off. Okay, so there's that part. And then you have the A and the T that are in the red. And burnish these down to make sure they're sticking. And peel that off. And okay, and then this just gets lined up like so. So they fit right in between the other green letters. Okay, and then you can rub it. Okay, so we've got, let me see if I put my hand under that, if you can see it better. Okay, so we've got Santa on there. And then milk is going to go more at the top. And then we'll put the other in between that. Okay, I need to get the transfer tape out. Okay, so I got a piece of transfer tape. Now I've got the word milk. Now last year everywhere you could find those milk jugs. They look like little bottles of milk. You could find those everywhere. This year I haven't really seen them as much as last year. They were kind of a thing last year. So I thought it would be fun if we had the mason jar milk. Okay, so this is going to go at the top within the frame there. Just going to rub that on. There you go. And then the little word for will go in the middle of that. Rub that down and burnish it. Okay, and then this, I'm angling it. Just like that. Just to add a little interest to it. Okay, so the vinyl is on this now. Milk for Santa. And I'm going to go ahead and dress this jar because I think it'll be cute. This is just red and white and green and white twine that I had in my stash. You could, you know, use ribbon. You could use whatever you want. I just thought it was cute to dress up the front of it and a little bit around the edges. Okay, so once I get it on there, I'll show you guys. So I just wrapped it around, okay? And then I want to take one of the ends, and I have a little silver jingle bell. Let me get these twisted so they're going to go into the little top of the bell. And slide these in, and this is where my little tweezers also come in handy to help me pull this, to pull that through. Okay, so I've got my bell on there now, because you want to know if Santa drinks out of your mug, right? This way we'll know that he drank out of the mug, as we'll hear the bell. Okay, and I just tied it down, and then I think I'm going to make one more loop. And I could make a bow if I wanted, but I just wanted it just to have a little jingle bell. And then I'll just cut off some of the rest of it. Okay, and then we have this really cute little milk jar. Milk for Santa. If you just had that with some milk in it, wouldn't that be adorable? Okay, so that was super simple. Let's move on to getting the plate made. And then we're going to have this really cute matching set. Okay, so the first image that I want to put on is, I'm going to put Santa on first. Okay, now all the rest of the vinyl is the ones that were mirrored. Okay, so here's Santa. And he's going to go in the middle of our plate, just like that. Okay. So if you want to know where the center of your plate is, you can use your craft mat to help line that up. If you want to be able to, you know, to tell for sure. Since I put it on a paper towel, I can see these are those paper towels that are like, you get only like this much in a sheet, you know, those that tear off that way. So there's a line running right down the center where you would pull the sheets apart. So that's pretty handy. All right, so I'm going to get the big pieces transfer tape out. And I'm really going to want to burnish this really well. to make sure that he gets on there. So I'm going to lay this on, and then I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm just going to push it up and slowly let go of it with my finger, because it's kind of a bigger image, and I want to make sure that there's no bubbles in it when I do that. And I'll use a scraper tool and scrape really well, and then I'm going to pick this up. Now, Santa was also mirrored, so when you look at him like this, he's in this orientation, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to peel him off of the transfer tape, and now the back of him is the part that's sticky, but that is the way it's going to go onto your plate, and you're going to put it on the back side. So I'm just going to line it up kind of about like that. Looks good to me. And I'm just going to press that down. Okay. Frankly, this image could have gone any direction, but we need to mirror it so that it can go on our plate. So once we get that down, then we're just going to pull off our transfer tape. And there's, you know, this has a lot of intricate pieces to it, so I want to make sure that we don't miss anything, leaving it behind. So I'm just slowly peeling it off. Okay, so there is the underside of the plate. But when you flip it over and look at it, you see Santa on the plate, right? Okay, but the vinyl is not going to be touching the food. So you would be able to do this and still serve food on this and still get to enjoy the vinyl image. So that's why I like to use these as opposed to a charger plate or something, just because they really don't recommend that you put food on top of vinyl. So where I've touched it with my hands, I went back and I just retouched it with the alcohol, rubbing alcohol on the paper towel. Okay, and now we want to work on our cookies 4. Okay, so I've got a piece of transfer tape that I cut long enough for that, and you're going to notice that I went ahead and I trimmed around the edges of the transfer tape, I mean the backing of that, just so that I could kind of get a better feel. When I put it on this, I'll be able to see more or less kind of the curvature. Okay, I just want to lay it on. And I want to burnish it. Okay, now clearly this is going to look like it is the wrong orientation, right? But I'm going to go ahead and get the liner off of the vinyl, making sure you don't leave anything behind. Okay. All right, so now we have it like this, and we're going to put it on our plate. So I'm going to move this a little closer to me so I can see it. I'm trying to make sure you guys can see it on camera. That's my biggest trouble. So I know that that eye is about in the middle. So if you fold your images over and you kind of line it up so that you know that the letters are going to match, you'll kind of get an idea of where the center point is. And the center of this is that eye. So I want to make sure that I'm laying that eye down about on the center of my plate, and then moving this around, because we've already curved it in Design Space, right? So it's already curved, but just to be able to place it, we want to make sure, and I just want to make sure I get that down really well. Now remember, you do not want to wash any of this for 48 hours. Don't use it, don't wash it. You want to let that adhesive really adhere to the glass, and then when you go to wash this, you're not going to have any trouble. The vinyl's going to stay on. It's going to stay beautiful. It should look fabulous. So now we've got the cookie. So let me flip that over. Look, cookies for. We need to put Santa on. Okay, so I'm going to line this back up so that it's even. And now I want to do my Santa word. Okay, remember it's got two pieces to it. It's got the green and the red. I'm just going to lay that on. And I want to burnish. Now I'm starting with the S and the N and the A first. And then we'll fill in with the red T and A. Okay, so I know that the end's going to be the center, so I'm going to line that in up. Now, if I wanted this to be more curved, I'm fine with it not being curved. I liked it better not curved, but if I wanted to curve this some, I could make little slits in the transfer tape and then be able to bend it a little bit if I wanted to wrap this around a little bit, okay? Or you could apply your letters one at a time. That's another way you could do it, but I liked it straight on the bottom. I just thought it looked nicer. And we will flip it over and take a look here in a minute. Okay, so then I'm going to line up my T and the A. Just rubbing it on to make sure it's all sticking well. Okay, now when I flip it over, we have cookies for Santa. Super cute, right? All right, now we're going to put our snowflakes down the sides. Got a piece of transfer tape to use for those. And of course I can keep reusing this. I just went ahead and cut this to size for the images so it'd be easier for you guys to see it that way. So I've got red ones and I've got one for each side of the plate. 4 different snowflake images, so there's one set of each snowflake for each side. So I'm going to start with, it doesn't matter which snowflakes you put on. You can now people can you can also customize this and put your family's name on it and put like from the Smiths or whatever. You can use your imagination and put whatever images you want to put on it now that I've shown you how easy it is to do the reverse. Okay, so we're going to start with the snowflake out here, and I'm doing a white one on this side. I want to use that same snowflake on the other side in about the same position. I'm putting these towards the outer part of the plate, and then I'm going to pick red and I'm going to put this one more towards the center of the plate. Do the same thing on the other side. Now, you can use this exact same technique for applying vinyl to the inside of a like a glass shadow box or picture frame when you don't want the vinyl to be on the outside for some reason. You can always do it this same way. Okay, so that one's going to go right about here. I'll show you the big reveal. These make really nice gifts too. And they sell really well usually at craft shows, particularly if your audience is such that there's little children involved. So this one's going to go right about here. And like I said, these will stay on and you'll be able to wash this and everything. You don't have to hand wash. You can put this in the dishwasher. I've done that and they came out just fine. If you have an old dishwasher that gets really super hot, like it has, you know, a big heating element in the bottom of the dishwasher, you may want to just make sure it goes in the top rack just to be safe. Okay. All right, let's flip it over and see what we think. Isn't that cute? It's so adorable. I think everyone would really enjoy having this. And even if you're a grown-up and you don't have little kids at the house, you can still set out cookies for your special Santa at your house, and that may just be you. You can see the white better on this dark background. All right, so there is our set. The milk jar for Santa and the Santa plate. This concludes day 5. Stay tuned for day 6 of Cricut Crafts with Debbie O'Neill. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and be sure and like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and please share with others that I'm doing this so that they can get some tips about using their Cricut machines too.